My son messed with the school buses. I've never been prouder. The call came at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right in the middle of my quarterly budget review. I watched my phone buzz against the conference table, seeing Lincoln High School flash across the screen for the third time this month. I need to take this, I muttered to my colleagues, stepping into the hallway. My stomach was already twisting into familiar knots. Mrs. Chen? This is Principal Morrison. We need you to come in immediately. There's been an incident with Marcus on the bus. My 16-year-old son's name in the same sentence as incident never meant anything good. What kind of incident? Is he hurt? He's fine physically, but we need to discuss his behavior. There was some sort of altercation, and frankly, we're considering suspending his bus privileges. I closed my eyes, pressing my back against the cool office wall. I'll be there in 20 minutes. The drive to Lincoln High felt like navigating through molasses. Marcus had been riding bus 47 since the start of sophomore year, and lately, our dinner conversations had grown shorter, his responses more clipped. When I'd ask about his day, he'd just shrug and disappear into his room with his laptop. I chalked it up to typical teenage behavior, maybe the lingering adjustment from his dad walking out on us 3 years ago. I should have known better. Marcus wasn't typical anything. Principal Morrison's office smelled like stale coffee and industrial carpet cleaner. Marcus sat in the chair across from the desk, his dark hair falling over his eyes, fingers drumming that familiar rhythm against his jeans, a sure sign his anxiety was spiking. He glanced up when I walked in, and I caught something in his expression I hadn't seen in months. Not shame or fear, but something that almost looked like satisfaction. Mrs. Chen, please sit. Morrison gestured to the chair beside Marcus. We have a serious situation. According to Mr. Hendricks, your son became violent on the bus this afternoon. Violent? I stared at Marcus, who was now studying his sneakers with intense concentration. My son, who apologized to furniture when he bumped into it, who hadn't raised his voice since he was 8 years old. What exactly happened? Mr. Hendricks says Marcus threw something at another student and used inappropriate language when asked to stop. I turned to Marcus. Is this true? He looked up then, meeting my eyes directly for the first time in weeks. I threw a rubber band at Tyler Brennan. And I told Mr. Hendricks he could. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I told him where he could put his seating chart. Morrison leaned forward. This kind of outburst is unacceptable, especially given Marcus's challenges. We understand he has special needs, but that doesn't excuse disruptive behavior. Something cold settled in my chest at the way he said special needs, like Marcus was broken merchandise that had exceeded his return policy. Has anyone asked why Marcus threw something at this other student? I asked. The reason doesn't matter. Violence is never the answer. Marcus made a soft sound that might have been a laugh. When I looked at him, that strange satisfaction was back, mixed with something else. Something that looked dangerously close to a plan. Actually, Marcus said quietly, still looking at me instead of Morrison, I think the reason matters a lot. And I think Mom should hear the recording. The word recording hung in the air like smoke. Morrison's face went through several colors before settling on an uncomfortable shade of red. What recording? I asked, though something in my gut already knew this was bigger than a rubber band and some choice words. Marcus reached into his backpack and pulled out his phone, the one I bought him last Christmas after saving for 3 months. His fingers moved across the screen with the same precision he used when coding, and suddenly the small speaker was filling the office with voices. Weird kid needs to learn his place, came a voice I didn't recognize, followed by cruel laughter. Just ignore the freak, Tyler. He'll probably start rocking back and forth if we keep it up. More laughter. Then a deeper voice, adult, authoritative. All right, settle down back there. Marcus, move to the front seat behind me. Maybe if you can't see them, you won't provoke them. My blood turned to ice. The adult voice had to be Mr. Hendricks, the bus driver. He wasn't stopping the harassment, he was enabling it. That's enough, Morrison said sharply, reaching for the phone. Marcus, turn that off. No. The word came out of Marcus with a firmness I hadn't heard from him in years. Mom needs to hear the rest. From yesterday. He tapped the screen again. This time the audio was clearer, like he'd positioned the phone better. Hey, robot boy, came Tyler's voice. My mom says your mom works at Fletcher Industries. Bet she's embarrassed having a defective kid. Tyler. That was Marcus's voice, smaller, tired. Please just leave me alone. Or what? You'll tell your mommy? Oh wait, you don't talk to her either. My dad says that's why your dad left, couldn't handle having a broken son. The sound that came next made my chest tighten. It was Marcus, but not crying. He was stimming, the humming sound he made when he was overwhelmed, the one his father used to say was embarrassing in public. Then came Hendricks' voice again, Marcus, keep it down back there. Some of us don't want to listen to that noise all afternoon. I was going to be sick. Not only had the driver ignored the bullying, he'd actively participated in humiliating my son. Mrs. Chen, Morrison started, but I held up my hand. How long? I asked Marcus. How long has this been happening? Since September, he said quietly. Every day. Different kids, same stuff. Mr. Hendricks always makes me move, always tells me I'm causing problems. He looked up at Morrison. I tried to report it. Remember? October 15th. You said bus discipline was handled by the transportation department. Morrison shifted uncomfortably. We followed proper protocol. You did nothing, I said, standing up. Absolutely nothing. While my son was being tortured on your buses. Now, Mrs. Chen, that's a very strong word. Is it? Because what I just heard sounds like psychological torture to me. I turned back to Marcus. Why didn't you tell me? Because Dad always said I needed to handle things myself. That I couldn't run to you every time someone was mean to me. His voice cracked slightly. I kept thinking if I just ignored them long enough, they'd get bored. Morrison cleared his throat. Regardless of what happened previously, Marcus's behavior today was unacceptable. We can't have students taking matters into their own hands. Marcus looked at me again, and this time I definitely saw satisfaction in his expression. Actually, he said, taking matters into my own hands is exactly what I did. And it's just the beginning. The silence that followed Marcus's words stretched like a taut wire. Morrison's face had gone from red to pale, and I could practically hear the gears turning in his head as he tried to figure out what my son meant by just the beginning. Marcus, I said carefully, what exactly did you do? He pulled up another app on his phone, something I didn't recognize, with lines of code scrolling across a dark screen. I've been documenting everything for 2 months. Not just audio recordings. I wrote a program that automatically uploads files to a secure server every time my phone detects the GPS coordinates of bus 47. Morrison leaned forward. Son, you can't record other students without permission. Actually, Marcus interrupted, and I heard an edge in his voice that reminded me sharply of his father. According to State Education Code 48.7a, students have the right to document harassment for the purposes of filing formal complaints. I looked it up. He glanced at me. I've gotten really good at looking things up. My chest swelled with something between pride and terror. When had my quiet, anxious son become this methodical? But that's not the interesting part, Marcus continued, swiping to another screen. The interesting part is what I found when I started digging into the district's transportation records. Marcus, stop. Morrison's voice carried a warning now. You're treading into very serious territory. Like how Mr. Hendricks has had 17 complaints filed against him in the past 3 years. Or how the district settled out of court with the Patterson family last year after their daughter Emma had a nervous breakdown, which, by the way, was actually a panic attack triggered by systematic bullying on his bus route. My mouth fell open. How do you know about court settlements? Public records, mostly. Plus, I may have explored some of the district's less secure databases. Marcus's fingers never stopped moving across his phone screen. Did you know they've been covering for problem drivers by just shuffling them to different routes? Mr. Hendricks was on bus 23 before bus 47. Guess why they moved him? Morrison stood up abruptly. That's enough. Marcus, what you're describing sounds like illegal computer access. Mrs. Chen, I think you need to confiscate your son's devices immediately and consider getting him counseling for these concerning behaviors. Concerning behaviors? I stood up too, anger finally overriding my shock. My son is being systematically abused on your buses, and when he tries to document it, you want to punish him? He's hacking into school systems. I'm exercising my right to gather evidence, Marcus said calmly. Everything I accessed was either public record or information that directly pertained to my safety as a student. He looked up at Morrison with an expression I'd never seen before, cold, calculating, completely fearless. Besides, if your security was better, I wouldn't have been able to access anything sensitive, would I? Morrison's face went through another color change. Are you threatening us? I'm stating facts. Marcus stood up, slipping his phone back into his pocket. Fact 1, I have documented evidence of harassment and negligence spanning multiple incidents. Fact 2, I have evidence of a pattern of administrative cover-ups regarding transportation safety. Fact 3, I've compiled all of this into a comprehensive report that's currently sitting in my mom's email inbox. I fumbled for my phone, heart hammering. Sure enough, there was an email from Marcus, sent 20 minutes ago. The subject line read, everything you need to know about bus 47. And fact 4, Marcus continued, shouldering his backpack with deliberate precision, I've scheduled that same report to be automatically forwarded to the school board, the local news stations, and the State Education Oversight Committee at 6 p.m. today. Unless, of course, we can have a more productive conversation about addressing the actual problems here. Morrison sank back into his chair like a deflated balloon. My son, my quiet, sensitive, supposedly helpless son, had just systematically dismantled the entire school administration in under 10 minutes. I had never been more terrified or proud in my entire life. The car ride home was silent for exactly 7 minutes and 32 seconds. I know because I kept glancing at the dashboard clock, waiting for Marcus to explain what the hell had just happened back there. So, I finally said as we pulled into our driveway, you want to tell me how my son who needed help ordering pizza over the phone last month just blackmailed the principal of Lincoln High School? Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt but didn't move to get out. I didn't blackmail anyone. I just presented options. Marcus. I turned off the engine and faced him fully. That email you sent me, it's 47 pages long. 47 pages of documentation, code snippets, and what appears to be illegally obtained personnel records. When did you have time to compile all this? I've been working on it since October. He was doing that finger drumming thing again, but slower now, more controlled. Every night after homework. Do you know what time I actually go to sleep? You're in bed by 10:30. I check. I'm in my room by 10:30. I've been staying up until 2 or 3 a.m. most nights, documenting everything, learning new programming languages, figuring out how the district's systems work. He looked at me then, and I saw exhaustion in his eyes that had nothing to do with missing sleep. Did you know they use the same password for their transportation database that they use for their lunch menu updates? It's literally Lincoln 2023, with an exclamation point. My stomach dropped. Marcus, please tell me you didn't actually hack into school computers. I prefer the term security research. He pulled out his phone and showed me a screen full of data. Look, everything I accessed was either poorly protected or technically public information. Their bus GPS tracking? Anyone can view it if they know the fleet numbers. Driver employment records? Cross-referenced with public court documents and state licensing databases. The only thing I had to actually dig for was the email chain between Morrison and the transportation supervisor. What email chain? Marcus swiped to another screen. The one from October 16th, the day after I reported the bullying to Morrison. Want to know what he wrote to Janet Kowalski in transportation? I wasn't sure I did, but I nodded anyway. Another complaint about bus 47. Kid seems sensitive, recommend we just move him to a different pickup time rather than dealing with Hendricks again. Driver's retiring next year anyway. Marcus's voice stayed level, but his knuckles went white around the phone. They were going to solve the problem by making me walk to school an hour earlier instead of addressing the actual issue. The anger hit me like a physical force. They were going to punish you for being bullied. Gets better. Kowalski's response was agreed. These special needs kids are always causing drama. Handle it quietly. I stared at my son, really looked at him, and realized that somewhere between September and now, he'd stopped being the anxious kid who needed me to handle everything difficult in his life. The boy sitting in my passenger seat had systematically built a case that would probably end several careers, and he'd done it alone. Marcus, what you've done, it's incredible, but it's also potentially illegal. And that automatic email you set up for 6 p.m. can be cancelled with a simple command, he said. If we get what we want. Which is? He looked at me with an expression that was pure steel. Mr. Hendricks fired. Morrison to issue a formal apology to every student who's been harassed on district buses. Policy changes requiring mandatory reporting and investigation of all bullying complaints. And Tyler Brennan suspended for the rest of the semester. That's a pretty big list of demands from someone who threw a rubber band. Marcus smiled for the first time all day. Mom, the rubber band was just the opening move. Inside the house, Marcus disappeared into his room while I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the email he'd sent. 47 pages of methodical documentation that read like a legal brief written by someone 3 times his age. Screenshots of text messages, audio transcripts with timestamps, even a detailed analysis of the district's transportation budget showing how they'd allocated funds to settle harassment cases rather than address root causes. My phone rang at 4:23 p.m. Principal Morrison. Mrs. Chen, we need to discuss this situation before it escalates further. I'm listening. Marcus's demands are extensive. Some of them are reasonable, but others are simply outside my authority. I can't fire Mr. Hendricks, that's a union and district level decision. And expelling Tyler Brennan for the rest of the semester seems excessive for what amounts to verbal harassment. I walked to Marcus's door, which was cracked open just enough for me to see him at his computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. 3 monitors displayed different screens, code, email interfaces, what looked like a news website template. What exactly can you authorize? I asked Morrison. I can suspend Tyler for a week. I can recommend Mr. Hendricks for additional sensitivity training. I can implement better monitoring procedures for Bus 47. That's not good enough. Mrs. Chen, you have to understand, if Marcus follows through on sending that information to outside agencies, it won't just affect the people responsible for his harassment. Innocent employees could lose their jobs. The district could face massive legal exposure. Property taxes fund our schools, and if we're hit with lawsuits. Maybe you should have thought about that before covering up systematic abuse. There was a long pause. What would it take to resolve this privately? I looked at Marcus again. He turned in his chair and was watching me, eyebrows raised in question. I covered the phone. Morrison wants to negotiate, I whispered. Tell him we want to see the district's complete harassment incident database, Marcus said, not bothering to lower his voice. All schools, all transportation, last 5 years. I stared at him. Marcus. Trust me, Mom. I uncovered the phone. We want access to the district's harassment incident reports. All of them. 5-year span. That's confidential information. I can't. Then I guess we'll see what the school board has to say at 6 p.m. Another pause. Let me make some calls. After Morrison hung up, I sat on the edge of Marcus's bed. His room looked like mission control, cables snaking between devices, papers covered in diagrams I couldn't understand, empty energy drink cans stacked like a caffeinated monument. When did you learn to do all this? I asked. Dad's computer science books, mostly. YouTube University. Some online courses MIT offers for free. He spun his chair to face me. After he left, I figured I needed to get good at something useful. Something that would help me solve problems instead of just being a problem. My chest tightened. Marcus, you were never a problem. Your father left because he couldn't handle his own issues, not because of anything you did or who you are. I know that now. His fingers found that familiar rhythm against his desk. But back then, I decided I was going to become someone who couldn't be pushed around anymore. Someone who could push back. Is that what this is? Pushing back? Marcus turned to one of his monitors, pulling up what looked like a social media profile. Tyler Brennan's Instagram account. Tyler posted this yesterday. The image showed Tyler and 3 other kids laughing in the back of what was clearly Bus 47. The caption read, "Riding with the zoo animals today, gorilla clownface, hashtag special needs special problems, hashtag bus life." I felt something cold and sharp settle behind my ribs. He posted that publicly? Gets better. Look at the comments. I scrolled through dozens of responses from other Lincoln High students, each one crueler than the last. Jokes about short bus kids, speculation about which student Tyler was mocking, even a few comments from adults, parents, laughing along. Marcus, this is horrible, but posting cruel things online isn't illegal. No, but this is. He switched screens, showing me Tyler's direct messages. He's been sending these to other kids, trying to get them to record me during my meltdowns. Offering to pay $20 for videos of me stimmying. The room tilted. He was trying to create a market for humiliating you. 3 kids took him up on it. I had the Venmo transactions. Marcus pulled up another screen, financial records showing Tyler Brennan paying Jake Morrison, Ashley Chen, and David Kim $20 each over the past month. Principal Morrison's son was on the list. Oh God, I whispered. The principal's kid was in on it. Now you know why Morrison was so eager to make this go away quietly. Marcus's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. But here's the thing, Mom. I'm done being quiet. At exactly 5:47 p.m., my phone started ringing. It wasn't Morrison this time. The caller ID read, Superintendent Williams. Mrs. Chen, this is Dr. Williams from the district office. I believe we need to have an emergency meeting tonight. The superintendent's voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the strain underneath. In the background, I caught the sound of multiple conversations and what might have been a printer running continuously. I'm available, I said, watching Marcus pull up yet another screen on his computer. This one showed a timer counting down, 12 minutes and 43 seconds until his automated email deployment. Excellent. I'm calling an emergency session with the school board for 7 p.m. at the district office. We'd like you and Marcus to attend. That's after 6, I pointed out. Marcus has a deadline. Yes, about that. We're prepared to meet his conditions, but we need time to implement proper procedures. These things can't happen overnight. Marcus held up his phone, showing me a text message. Can delay autosend until midnight if they agree to public meeting tomorrow. Dr. Williams, Marcus can delay his timeline until midnight tonight, but only if you agree to hold a public school board meeting tomorrow evening to address these issues transparently. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Mrs. Chen, a public meeting would be problematic. The media attention could damage the district's reputation unfairly. We prefer to handle personnel issues privately. The district damaged its own reputation when it chose to cover up systematic harassment, I said. Marcus is offering you 12 hours to fix this internally. That's more generous than you deserve. Please hold. Marcus was typing rapidly, his screen cycling through different programs. What are you doing now? I asked, covering the phone. Insurance policy. I'm sending copies of everything to 3 different lawyers who specialize in education discrimination cases. If something happens to our files or if they try to intimidate us legally, we'll have backup. How do you even know lawyers who? Internet research. I found the attorneys who handled the Patterson case against the district last year. Also the Rodriguez case from 2021 and the Kim family settlement from 2019. Turns out Lincoln has a pattern of paying families to stay quiet instead of fixing problems. Dr. Williams came back on the line. Mrs. Chen, we can arrange a closed session school board meeting for tomorrow at 4 p.m. You and Marcus can present your concerns directly to the board. Public session, Marcus called out, loud enough for Williams to hear. And it needs to include testimony from other affected families. Other families? Williams sounded genuinely confused. I looked at Marcus, who was pulling up what appeared to be a spreadsheet with dozens of names and contact information. Marcus, please tell me you didn't. I reached out to the Patterson, Rodriguez, and Kim families. Also 15 other families who filed harassment complaints in the past 3 years. His fingers never stopped moving across the keyboard. Turns out parents really want to talk when someone finally listens to them. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. Morrison again. Dr. Williams, I need to take another call. We'll see you at 7 p.m. tonight, and we expect a public meeting tomorrow. Marcus will hold his timeline until midnight. I switched calls. Principal Morrison. Mrs. Chen, we have a problem. Tyler Brennan's parents are demanding to know why we're suspending him. They're threatening their own legal action. Let me guess, they think their son is being unfairly targeted. They're claiming Marcus fabricated evidence. Mrs. Brennan says Tyler would never engage in bullying behavior, and she's questioning the legality of the recordings. Marcus looked up from his computer, eyebrows raised. He pulled up Tyler's Instagram again, scrolling to a post from 3 hours ago. When special needs kids can't handle the real world, face with rolling eyes, maybe homeschool is better. Just saying #triggered. Principal Morrison, you might want to check Tyler's social media before you take his parents' claims too seriously. What do you mean? I mean Tyler posted another charming commentary about special needs students at 2:15 this afternoon. After your meeting with us. Using hashtags that specifically mock people with disabilities. The silence on Morrison's end was deafening. Mrs. Chen, I'll need to review. No need. Marcus already screenshotted it and added it to his evidence file. Along with the 43 comments from other Lincoln students agreeing with Tyler's sentiment. I watched Marcus compile the new data in real time. Including comments from Jake Morrison. Your son, I believe. That's. Morrison's voice cracked slightly. I'll need to speak with Jake. You'll need to speak with a lot of people. See you at 7 p.m., Principal Morrison. Marcus smiled as I hung up. Mom? Yeah? I think we're winning. At 6:45 p.m., 15 minutes before our emergency meeting with the superintendent, Marcus's phone started buzzing with notifications. Not just a few, dozens of them, coming in so fast the screen couldn't keep up. What's happening? I asked, watching his expression shift from satisfaction to concern. Someone leaked the story. He pulled up a local news website on his laptop. The headline made my stomach drop. Lincoln High student exposes district-wide cover-up of special needs harassment. How is that possible? Your email wasn't supposed to send until midnight. Marcus scrolled through the article, his face growing paler by the second. I didn't send anything. This is stuff I never shared with anyone. He pointed to a quote in the article. According to internal district emails obtained by this reporter, Superintendent Williams wrote to school board president Janet Foster last month, we need to keep these special needs complaints quiet until after the levy vote. Bad publicity now could cost us millions in funding. I stared at the screen. You never found that email? No, I didn't. Which means someone else is digging into the district's files. Someone with access to higher-level communications than I could reach. Marcus pulled up his phone's call log. Mom, I've had 6 calls in the past hour from numbers I don't recognize. 3 from reporters, 2 from lawyers, and 1 from someone claiming to be from the state education department. My own phone rang. Dr. Williams again, but this time his voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Mrs. Chen, we have a serious problem. There's been a data breach in our system, and sensitive information has been compromised. We need to postpone tonight's meeting. A data breach? Or did someone finally decide to tell the truth? This is not the time for accusations. Our IT department is investigating, but preliminary findings suggest someone gained unauthorized access to confidential email servers. This goes far beyond what your son documented. Marcus was typing furiously, pulling up what looked like a network monitoring program. Mom, someone else is in their system right now. Look at this traffic data. There are 3 different IP addresses accessing the district's server simultaneously. Marcus, please tell me you're not. I'm not doing anything except watching. But someone is pulling files in real time. Personnel records, budget documents, board meeting minutes going back 5 years. His eyes widened. Whoever this is, they have administrative access. This isn't hacking, this is someone with legitimate credentials. Dr. Williams was still talking. We're contacting law enforcement about the breach. Given your son's demonstrated technical capabilities, we'll need to examine his devices as part of the investigation. Absolutely not, I said. Marcus has been with me all evening, and his computers haven't left this house. Mrs. Chen, you have to understand the position this puts us in. The leaked information includes private personnel discussions, confidential student records, even board members' personal email addresses. We're talking about potential federal privacy violations. Marcus held up his phone, showing me a text from an unknown number. Your son started something important. Others are finishing it. Don't let them intimidate you. A concerned district employee. Another text came in immediately after. Check your email. You're going to want to see what else we found. Someone who's been waiting for this day. My heart hammered as I opened my email. A new message from an encrypted account contained a single attachment. Complete_Lincoln_District_harassment_files_2019-2024.pdf. The file was 247 pages long. Dr. Williams, I said slowly, I think you have bigger problems than my son's documentation project. What do you mean? I scrolled through page after page of incident reports, settlement agreements, and internal communications that Marcus had never seen. Cases involving dozens of students across multiple schools. Budget line items specifically designated for reputation management and legal settlements. Email chains between board members discussing which harassment complaints could be managed quietly and which ones posed serious exposure risk. I mean, someone with inside access has been compiling evidence for years. Marcus didn't cause this data breach, he just gave someone the courage to finally use information they already had. Marcus pulled up another screen. Mom, look at the metadata on this PDF. It was created incrementally over 18 months. Someone's been building this file since January 2023, adding to it every time a new incident was covered up. Dr. Williams' voice had gone very quiet. Mrs. Chen, regardless of the source, we're dealing with a coordinated attack on the district. We need to know if you and Marcus are involved. We're involved in demanding accountability for the systematic abuse of my son, I said. If that's what you consider an attack, then yes, we're absolutely involved. My phone buzzed with another notification. Channel 7 News had just posted a video to their website, exclusive, school bus audio reveals pattern of adult-sanctioned bullying. The thumbnail showed Mr. Hendrix's employee photo next to a waveform visualization of audio recordings. Marcus looked at me with something between awe and terror. Mom, this isn't just about bus 47 anymore. No, I said, watching my phone light up with notifications from reporters, lawyers, and parents I'd never met. It's not. The war my son had started with a rubber band and a smartphone was about to become a revolution. At 7:15 p.m., the Lincoln District office parking lot looked like a crime scene. 3 news vans had their satellite dishes extended, reporters doing live broadcasts under harsh camera lights. Parents I'd never seen before clustered in small groups, some holding printed emails, others with their own phones out recording everything. Marcus and I sat in our car for a moment, watching the chaos unfold through our windshield. Second thoughts? I asked him. No. His voice was steadier than mine felt. But Mom, I need to tell you something before we go in there. My stomach clenched. What now? The person who's been leaking the additional files? I think I know who it is. He pulled up a message thread on his phone. I've been getting texts from someone who claims to work in the district IT department. They've been helping me understand the system architecture for weeks, but I thought they were just being friendly. Marcus. Their name is Sarah Kim. She graduated from Lincoln in 2018. He showed me a LinkedIn profile. Her little brother David was one of the kids Tyler paid to record harassment videos. But that's not the important part. What's the important part? Sarah Kim is Janet Foster's daughter. The school board president's daughter has been feeding me information and building that massive evidence file for over a year. The pieces clicked together in my mind like a lock opening. She's been waiting for someone like you. Someone who would actually do something with the information. Gets better. Sarah just texted me 5 minutes ago. She's inside the building right now, and she says 3 board members are trying to convince Dr. Williams to blame everything on outside agitators and illegal hacking. They want to make us the story instead of the harassment. Through the car window, I could see more parents arriving. A woman with graying hair was standing near the building entrance, directing people toward the main doors while talking rapidly on her phone. Something about her looked familiar. Marcus, is that? Mrs. Patterson. Emma's mom. The family who settled with the district last year. He checked his phone again. Sarah says Mrs. Patterson has been in contact with 17 other families just since this afternoon. They're all coming tonight. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. Mrs. Chen? This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We've been reviewing the audio recordings your son provided, and we'd like to interview you both before you go into the meeting. I didn't provide any recordings to Channel 7. Ma'am, we received a comprehensive package of evidence about an hour ago from someone identifying themselves as a Lincoln District whistleblower. The materials include your son's bus recordings, but also documentation of similar incidents involving at least 30 other students across the district. Marcus's eyes went wide. 30 students? Mrs. Martinez, I said slowly, we'll talk after the meeting. Right now we need to focus on the district's response. Of course. But Mrs. Chen? You should know that we've confirmed at least 12 other families are planning to file formal complaints with the state education department tomorrow morning. This story is much bigger than Lincoln High School. After she hung up, Marcus and I sat in the car, watching more cars pull into the parking lot. The crowd outside the building had grown to at least 50 people. Mom, Marcus said quietly, I thought this was just about making them stop hurting me. What do you think it's about now? He stared out at the families gathering under the parking lot lights, many of them with teenagers who looked uncomfortable in the spotlight but determined to be there. I think it's about making sure they never hurt anyone again. He unbuckled his seatbelt and reached for the door handle. I think Sarah Kim was right to wait. And I think we're about to find out just how deep this goes. As we walked toward the building, a reporter thrust a microphone toward Marcus. Are you the student who exposed the harassment cover-up? Marcus looked directly into the camera, his voice clear and steady. I'm the student who got tired of being told to stay quiet. The automatic doors slid open, and we stepped into what felt like a courtroom where we were about to serve as both prosecutors and witnesses. The revolution was just getting started. The district conference room felt like a pressure cooker set to explode. Dr. Williams sat at the head of a long table, flanked by 3 school board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Principal Morrison occupied a chair near the wall, his face the color of old newspaper. Marcus and I took seats across from them, but we weren't alone. Mrs. Patterson had somehow talked her way into the meeting, along with 2 other parents I didn't recognize. Sarah Kim sat in the corner with a laptop, officially there as IT support but clearly serving as our inside source. Before we begin, Dr. Williams said, shuffling papers with shaking hands, I want to clarify that this is not an admission of wrongdoing. We're here to address concerns and find a path forward that serves everyone's interests. Whose interests? Asked the woman next to Mrs. Patterson. Because my daughter Emma tried to kill herself last March after months of harassment on bus 23. Same driver. Same pattern of administrative indifference. My blood went cold. Marcus's hand found mine under the table. Dr. Williams cleared his throat. Mrs. Rodriguez, we've already reached a settlement regarding Emma's situation. You paid us to stay quiet, Mrs. Rodriguez interrupted. $47,000 to sign an NDA and pretend it never happened. But here we are again, different kids, same problems. Board member Janet Foster leaned forward. These isolated incidents. Isolated? Sarah Kim spoke up from her corner, her fingers flying across her laptop keyboard. Would you like me to read the complete list? Because I have documentation of harassment complaints involving 83 students across 12 bus routes over the past 3 years. The number hit the room like a physical blow. 83 kids. Marcus squeezed my hand tighter. Sarah, can you tell them about the budget allocations? Sarah's smile was sharp as her mother's expression went pale. The district has spent $347,000 in settlement payments and legal fees since 2021. All related to transportation harassment incidents. That's enough money to have hired 2 additional counselors and completely overhauled driver training programs. Sarah, Janet Foster said carefully, you're exceeding your role here. Actually, Mom, I'm doing my job. My actual job. The one where I maintain network security and ensure data integrity. Sarah pulled up a projection screen. Would you like to see the email thread where you and Dr. Williams discussed managing the optics of Marcus's case specifically? The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Dr. Williams stood up abruptly. This meeting is over. We're not going to sit here and be ambushed by stolen communications. Nothing was stolen, Sarah said calmly. I have administrative access to all district communications systems. It's literally my job to monitor and maintain them. When I discovered systematic evidence of civil rights violations being covered up, I became legally obligated to preserve that evidence. Marcus looked at me, then stood up. Dr. Williams, you can end this meeting, but you can't end what's happening. Channel 7 is running the full story at 11 p.m. Mrs. Patterson has scheduled a press conference for tomorrow morning. The State Education Department is opening a formal investigation Monday. And, Mrs. Rodriguez added, our attorney is filing a federal civil rights complaint on behalf of 12 families tomorrow afternoon. The settlement NDAs become void when there's evidence of criminal conspiracy to violate students' civil rights. Dr. Williams sank back into his chair like he'd been deflated. What do you want? He asked quietly. Marcus looked around the room at the other parents, at Sarah still typing furiously, at the board members who were studying their hands like they contained the secrets of the universe. We want you to do your jobs, he said. Protect kids instead of protecting your reputation. Fire people who hurt children instead of shuffling them around. Spend money on solutions instead of silence. His voice never wavered, never rose, but somehow filled the entire room. And we want you to understand that we're not going away this time. The meeting ended at 8:43 p.m. with Dr. Williams promising to review our options and respond within 24 hours. As we filed out of the conference room, Sarah Kim caught up with us in the hallway. Marcus, we have a problem, she said, glancing over her shoulder to make sure we weren't being overheard. I've been monitoring the district's communications since the meeting started. They're not planning to cooperate. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Emergency conference call scheduled for 9 p.m. tonight between Dr. Williams, the district's legal team, and someone from the insurance company. The email subject line is damage control strategy, discrediting sources. Marcus stopped walking. They're going to come after us personally. It gets worse. Sarah pulled up her phone, showing us a message thread. They're planning to file criminal charges against you for computer intrusion. Tomorrow morning. They've already contacted the district attorney's office. The hallway suddenly felt like it was closing in around us. Can they do that? I asked. Technically, yes. Marcus did access systems without explicit authorization, even if the security was laughably weak. Sarah looked directly at my son. But here's what they don't know. I've been documenting every single one of their communications about this cover-up for the past 6 hours. Including Dr. Williams instructing Principal Morrison to delete emails related to harassment complaints. Marcus's eyes lit up. Obstruction of evidence. Exactly. And conspiracy to violate civil rights. Federal charges that carry a lot more weight than computer intrusion. Sarah's smile was predatory. They want to play hardball? Let's play hardball. Outside the building, the crowd had grown even larger. I counted at least 70 people now, including several teenagers who looked like current Lincoln students. Someone had brought folding chairs and a portable speaker system. It looked less like a protest and more like a community gathering. Mrs. Patterson approached us as we reached the parking lot. How did it go in there? They're going to try to destroy us, I said bluntly. Criminal charges, discrediting Marcus, probably going after the other families too. Expected that. Mrs. Patterson's voice was matter-of-fact. Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 wants to do live interviews with affected families. 11:30 p.m. broadcast, right after the late news. You interested? Marcus looked at me, and I saw something in his expression that reminded me of his father, not the man who'd walked out on us, but the man I'd fallen in love with years ago. Determined, uncompromising, ready to fight. Mom, if they're going to make this about me personally, then people need to see who I actually am. 20 minutes later, we were standing under portable lights in the Channel 7 news van, with Rebecca Martinez checking her microphone levels. Marcus had insisted on reviewing the audio files beforehand, making sure she understood the timeline of events. Are you nervous? She asked him. No, Marcus said, adjusting his position so the camera would capture his face clearly. I've been preparing for this conversation my whole life. I just didn't know it. The red light on the camera blinked on. This is Rebecca Martinez with Channel 7 News, and I'm here with Marcus Chen, the Lincoln High School student whose documentation of systematic harassment has exposed what appears to be a district-wide cover-up involving dozens of students and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in hush money. She turned to Marcus. Tell us how this started. Marcus looked directly into the camera lens, his voice steady and clear. It started with adults who were supposed to protect me deciding it was easier to blame me for being different than to stop the people hurting me. And where does it end? Marcus's smile was sharp enough to cut diamonds. It ends when every kid like me knows they don't have to suffer in silence. The Channel 7 interview aired at 11:47 p.m., and by midnight, Marcus's phone had exploded with notifications. Not just local responses, the story was being shared across social media platforms faster than we could track. Mom, look at this, Marcus said, scrolling through his Twitter mentions. Someone in Portland just tagged us in a thread about their own school district harassment issues. And there's a parent in Atlanta asking if our attorney handles out-of-state cases. I was reading emails on my laptop, trying to keep up with the flood of messages. Marcus, we have interview requests from 3 different news networks. CNN wants to do a segment tomorrow morning. That's not the crazy part. He pulled up his coding interface, showing me real-time web traffic data. Remember that evidence file Sarah compiled? Someone uploaded the entire thing to a document sharing platform 2 hours ago. It's been downloaded over 8,000 times already. My stomach lurched. The whole file? With everyone's personal information? No, they were smart about it. All student names redacted, but everything else intact. Budget documents, email chains, settlement agreements, it's all there. Marcus switched to another screen. And people are cross-referencing it with their own districts. Look at this forum thread. He showed me a Reddit discussion titled, Does Your School District Have Lincoln's Problem? With over 300 comments. Parents from across the country were posting eerily similar stories, harassment complaints ignored, problem employees shuffled between schools, settlements with NDAs instead of policy changes. This isn't just about Lincoln anymore, I said, the scope of it hitting me like cold water. It never was. We just didn't realize how big the pattern was. Marcus pulled up another window showing a Google document that appeared to be continuously updating. Someone created a crowdsourced database. Parents are adding their own district's harassment incidents, settlement amounts, problem employee transfers. It's up to 47 school districts already. My phone rang at 12:23 a.m. Sarah Kim. Mrs. Chen, we have an emergency. The district's legal team just sent a cease and desist order to Channel 7, demanding they retract the story and turn over all source materials. Can they do that? They can try. But here's the bigger problem, Dr. Williams just sent an email to all Lincoln High parents claiming Marcus fabricated evidence and that the family is trying to extort money from the district. Marcus looked up sharply from his computer. They're trying to discredit us before the criminal charges. It gets worse, Sarah continued. They're planning to hold an emergency school board meeting tomorrow at 7 a.m., before most people can attend, to approve filing formal charges against Marcus and to authorize hiring a crisis management firm. I felt the walls closing in. What kind of crisis management firm? The kind that specializes in making whistleblowers disappear from public conversation. They handled the Catholic Church abuse cases in Boston. Very effective at shifting narratives and isolating accusers. Marcus was typing furiously, his screen cycling through different programs. Sarah, are you still monitoring their communications? Every single one. Why? Because I think it's time to stop playing defense. He pulled up what looked like a scheduling interface. How many reporters do you think would be interested in a live document dump? Real-time release of district communications as they happen? Marcus, I said carefully, what are you planning? Transparency, Mom. Complete, total transparency. His fingers never stopped moving across the keyboard. They want to control the narrative by having secret meetings and hiring reputation fixers? Fine. Let's make sure every single decision they make is public knowledge the moment they make it. Sarah's voice came through the phone speaker. Marcus, that's incredibly risky. If you're caught actively monitoring their communications in real time, I won't be monitoring anything. You will be. It's your job, remember? Marcus's smile was absolutely terrifying in its calm confidence. I'll just be operating a public information sharing platform that happens to update whenever new data becomes available. I stared at my son, realizing that somewhere between yesterday afternoon and right now, he'd stopped being a victim of the system and become something far more dangerous to people like Dr. Williams. He'd become someone who refused to be silenced. Marcus, if we do this, there's no going back. They'll throw everything they have at us. He looked at me with eyes that seemed decades older than 16. Mom, they were already going to do that. The only difference is now we get to return fire. At 12:47 a.m., Marcus launched a website called Lincoln Transparency Project. By 1:15 a.m., it had crashed from traffic overload. By 1:30 a.m., he'd rebuilt it on a more robust server. The revolution was about to go live. At 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzing woke me from the first sleep I'd managed in 2 days. Sarah Kim's name flashed on the screen, and the urgency in her voice cut through my grogginess instantly. Mrs. Chen, they moved up the timeline. Emergency school board meeting is happening right now, 3 a.m. They're voting on the criminal charges and the crisis management contract. I sat up, heart hammering. Right now? That's illegal, isn't it? No public notice? Technically legal if they claim it's an emergency personnel matter. But here's the thing, I'm watching their communications in real time, and Marcus's website is auto-updating with every email they send. Sarah's voice carried a mixture of excitement and terror. The board members don't know they're conducting their secret meeting in front of 8,000 live viewers. I stumbled to Marcus's room, finding him wide awake at his computer, 3 energy drink cans already empty beside his keyboard. The Lincoln Transparency Project website filled his main monitor, showing a live feed of internal district emails appearing in real time. Marcus, please tell me you're not doing anything illegal right now. I'm not doing anything except maintaining a public information website. Sarah's the one with legitimate access to district communications. He pointed to the screen. Look at this email chain from the past 20 minutes. The latest message, timestamped 3:12 a.m., was from Dr. Williams to the school board, motion to approve emergency contract with Brennan and Associates Crisis Management, not to exceed $75,000 initial retainer. Scope includes social media suppression, counter-narrative development, and witness credibility assessment. My blood went cold. Witness credibility assessment? Marcus scrolled up to an earlier email. Janet Foster replied, agreed. Priority targets, Chin family, Patterson family, Kim employee. Need full background checks and any available personal information that could undermine public sympathy. They're going to try to destroy us personally. I sank into the chair beside his desk, watching more emails populate the screen in real time. Marcus, maybe we should step back, let the lawyers handle this. Mom, look at the comment section. Below the live email feed, hundreds of comments were streaming in from viewers across the country. Parents sharing their own stories, attorneys offering pro bono services, even current Lincoln students posting messages of support. But what made my chest tighten was a comment from someone identified as Lincoln_student_2024. Marcus, if you're reading this, Tyler Brennan is bragging at Jake Morrison's house right now that his dad's law firm is going to destroy the special needs freak. He's live streaming on Instagram, making fun of your voice from the Channel 7 interview. Thought you should know. Marcus's hand stilled over the keyboard. Tyler's father is a lawyer? Marcus, I started, but he was already pulling up social media, his face going pale as he found Tyler's Instagram livestream. The video showed Tyler Brennan and 3 other boys, including Jake Morrison, in what looked like a basement rec room. Tyler was doing a cruel impression of Marcus's measured speech pattern while the others laughed. It ends when every kid like me knows they don't have to suffer in silence, Tyler mimicked, affecting an exaggerated monotone. I'm Marcus Chen and I'm going to ruin everyone's lives because I can't take a joke. The viewer count showed 47 people watching, with comments encouraging Tyler to keep going and do the weird hand thing he does. Marcus closed the browser window, but I'd seen his hands start to shake, the beginning of sensory overload that used to trigger his meltdowns when he was younger. Turn off the computer, I said gently. We'll deal with this in the morning. No. His voice was steady, but I could see the effort it took. They think I'm going to break down and disappear. That's what they're counting on. He pulled up his coding interface. But I'm not the same kid who used to hide in his room when people were cruel. His fingers found their rhythm on the keyboard, and I watched him work with the same methodical precision he'd shown all week, but now there was something else, a cold determination that reminded me unsettlingly of his father's focused intensity. What are you doing? I'm making sure Tyler's performance reaches a wider audience than he intended. Marcus's smile was razor sharp. His Instagram livestream is about to become evidence in a federal civil rights investigation. Along with every comment encouraging him, every viewer who laughed along, and every adult who knew this was happening and did nothing to stop it. At 3:43 a.m., Tyler Brennan's mocking livestream appeared on the Lincoln Transparency Project website, embedded directly below the school board's real-time email chain about discrediting harassment victims. The juxtaposition was devastating, district officials plotting to destroy a special needs student while that same student was being actively mocked online by the original perpetrators. Marcus leaned back in his chair, watching the comment count on the website climb past 12,000. Mom, I think Tyler just ended his own father's legal career. By 4:15 a.m., Tyler Brennan's livestream had been screen-recorded and shared across 17 different social media platforms. The original Instagram video showed 847 viewers before Tyler finally realized what was happening and cut the feed, but it was far too late. Marcus pulled up a Twitter thread that made my stomach lurch. Someone had identified every person visible in Tyler's video, cross-referenced them with the harassment incident reports, and created a comprehensive timeline showing how the same group of students had been systematically targeting special needs kids for over 2 years. Marcus, this is getting out of control, I said, watching the social media firestorm explode in real time. People are posting these kids' home addresses, their parents' workplaces. I know. His voice was quiet, but I caught something that might have been regret. I never meant for it to become a mob. I just wanted the truth to be visible. My phone rang. Unknown number, but given everything happening, I answered. Mrs. Chen? This is Robert Brennan, Tyler's father. The voice was tight with controlled fury. We need to talk immediately. It's 4 a.m, Mr. Brennan. Yes, well, my son's reputation is being destroyed on the internet while we sleep, so I think we're past normal business hours. Papers rustled in the background. I'm prepared to file an immediate injunction against your son's website, along with defamation charges for posting a private video without consent. Marcus looked up from his computer, eyebrows raised. I put the call on speaker. Mr. Brennan, your son chose to broadcast that video live on a public platform. There's no expectation of privacy for content he willingly shared with hundreds of viewers. The content was taken out of context and weaponized against a minor. I've already spoken to Judge Harrison about an emergency hearing. His voice carried the practiced authority of someone used to winning legal battles through intimidation. More importantly, Mrs. Chen, I've been retained by the Lincoln School District to handle their response to this situation. My blood went cold. Tyler's father wasn't just threatening us as an angry parent, he was the crisis management attorney the district had hired at 3 a.m. That seems like a massive conflict of interest, I managed. On the contrary, it provides me with unique insight into both sides of this matter. Your son has crossed several legal lines, and Tyler's unfortunate comments don't change that fact. Papers rustled again. I'm offering you one opportunity to resolve this quietly. Marcus takes down the website, issues a public apology, and agrees to transfer to online schooling for the remainder of the semester. In exchange, we'll limit the charges to a misdemeanor computer intrusion plea. Marcus was typing furiously, pulling up legal databases I didn't know he had access to. He showed me his screen. Robert Brennan's law firm had been sanctioned twice by the state bar for ethical violations, including one case involving witness intimidation in an educational discrimination lawsuit. Mr. Brennan, I said carefully, I think you should recuse yourself from representing the district. This is exactly the kind of conflict that gets attorneys disbarred. The silence stretched long enough that I thought he'd hung up. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its professional polish. Mrs. Chen, you have no idea what you're dealing with. This district has resources and connections that will bury your family in legal fees for the next decade. Tyler made a stupid joke on social media. Your son committed federal crimes. Marcus held up his phone, showing me a text from Sarah Kim, recording this call. Keep him talking. What federal crimes, specifically? I asked. Computer fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit extortion, the list is extensive. Judge Harrison is a family friend, and he's not sympathetic to hackers who target public institutions. Even hackers who expose systematic civil rights violations? Robert Brennan's laugh was cold enough to freeze water. Mrs. Chen, by the time we're finished with your son, no one will remember why he started hacking in the first place. They'll only remember that he's a criminal. Marcus looked at me and smiled, not his usual gentle expression, but something sharp and predatory that reminded me exactly whose son he was. Mr. Brennan, Marcus said, speaking directly toward my phone, you might want to check the Lincoln Transparency Project website before you make any more threats. The line went dead. Marcus's latest update had gone live 30 seconds ago, a complete dossier on Robert Brennan's law firm, their previous ethical violations, and a detailed analysis of how Tyler's harassment videos constituted evidence in a federal civil rights case that his father was now attempting to obstruct. Marcus, I whispered, what have you done? I've made sure everyone knows exactly who we're fighting. At 5:23 a.m., my phone started ringing nonstop. Not just occasional calls, a constant stream that made the device unusable. Marcus's phone was doing the same thing, buzzing against his desk like an angry wasp. What's happening? I asked, but Marcus was already pulling up his network monitoring tools. DDoS attack on the website. Someone's flooding our servers and trying to overwhelm our phone lines. His fingers flew across the keyboard, rerouting traffic through backup systems. Professional level stuff, this isn't some angry parents calling from home. Sarah Kim's encrypted message app chimed on his computer, emergency. District hired cyber solutions Inc. at 4:47 a.m. Same company that buried the McKinney County teacher abuse scandal last year. They're not just attacking your website, they're trying to crash everything. I watched Marcus's screens flicker as he fought to keep the Lincoln Transparency Project online. The real-time document feed was stuttering, and the comment section had gone completely dark. They're trying to silence us before morning news cycles pick up the story, Marcus muttered, typing code faster than I'd ever seen. But they made one mistake. What mistake? They attacked the website while Sarah was still logged into the district's communication system. Every instruction they've sent to Cyber Solutions is automatically backing up to our servers. Marcus pulled up a new window showing a contract negotiation happening in real time. Look at this. The latest email from Dr. Williams to Cyber Solutions was timestamped 5:18 a.m. Priority directive, eliminate all traces of leaked documentation from public internet. Budget approved up to $150,000 for comprehensive scrubbing. Target social media accounts sharing district materials for terms of service violations. My stomach dropped. They're going to try to get everyone's accounts banned? Already happening. Look at Twitter. Marcus showed me his phone, where dozens of parents who'd been sharing the harassment documentation were posting about sudden account suspensions. They're claiming copyright violation on the leaked emails, even though they're public records. Another message from Sarah appeared, worse news. Robert Brennan just filed an emergency motion for a federal injunction. Hearing scheduled for 8 a.m. at the courthouse. He's claiming Marcus is part of a domestic terrorism conspiracy to destabilize public education. The words hit me like ice water. Domestic terrorism? For exposing bullying? Marcus stood up abruptly, his chair spinning away. Mom, we need to call Rebecca Martinez right now. If they're going to accuse me of terrorism, people need to see who I actually am before the hearing. Marcus, it's 5:30 in the morning. She gave me her direct number yesterday. Said to call if anything escalated. He was already dialing, putting the phone on speaker. This counts as escalation. Rebecca Martinez answered on the second ring, sounding surprisingly alert. Marcus? What's happening? They're calling me a domestic terrorist and trying to scrub all evidence of the harassment from the internet. Emergency federal hearing at 8 a.m. Marcus's voice stayed steady, but I could see his hands shaking slightly. I need people to see the documentation before they make it disappear. How much documentation are we talking about? Sarah compiled 247 pages, but the Cyber Solutions attack is taking down every platform that's hosting it. In 2 hours, there might be no public evidence left of what actually happened. Papers rustled in the background as Rebecca apparently grabbed a notepad. Can you get me a clean copy before the hearing? Complete files, unchallengeable source? Marcus looked at me, then back at his computer screens. I can do better than that. I can give you real-time access to watch them destroy evidence as it happens. But Rebecca, once I do this, there's no pretending I'm just a bullied kid who got lucky with a smartphone. What do you mean? Marcus pulled up his most sophisticated monitoring interface, showing network traffic from dozens of sources simultaneously. I mean, you're about to see exactly what a 16-year-old with 3 years of coding experience and unlimited motivation can actually accomplish. His smile was absolutely terrifying. And so is everyone else. At 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes before Marcus was supposed to stand before a federal judge accused of domestic terrorism, Rebecca Martinez's morning news special went live with a split screen that changed everything. On the left side, Marcus at his computer, calmly narrating as he demonstrated how the district's secure systems could be accessed using nothing more sophisticated than publicly available tools and passwords like Lincoln 2023. On the right side, real-time footage of Cyber Solutions employees frantically deleting files from servers while Robert Brennan screamed instructions over a conference call that he didn't realize was being broadcast live. As you can see, Marcus said, his voice steady as a news anchor's, they're not just trying to hide their cover-up of harassment. They're actively destroying evidence while a federal hearing is in session. I stood behind him, watching our kitchen TV show the same split screen to what the news ticker claimed were 2.3 million viewers. My 16-year-old son had just turned a terrorism accusation into a live demonstration of institutional corruption. Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Kim. Judge Harrison just called an emergency recess. Robert Brennan is being escorted out of the courtroom. State bar investigation opened. Dr. Williams in custody for evidence tampering. Mom, Marcus said, finally turning away from his computer, I think we won. But the real victory came 2 hours later, when Tyler Brennan appeared at our front door with his mother, both of them looking like they'd aged 5 years overnight. Marcus, Tyler said, his voice cracking, I need to apologize. And I need to tell the investigators everything about who else was involved. Mrs. Brennan's hand shook as she handed me an envelope. The settlement offer from my husband's firm. We're withdrawing it and paying for Marcus's college fund instead. It's the least we can do. Through the living room window, I could see news vans lining our street, but for the first time in a week, they didn't feel threatening. They felt like witnesses to something important. Marcus looked at Tyler for a long moment, and I held my breath, wondering how my son would respond to the boy who'd made his life hell for months. Tyler, Marcus said finally, I don't need you to grovel. I just need you to understand that every kid who gets harassed deserves someone to fight for them. I get it now, Tyler whispered. I'm sorry I had to learn it this way. After they left, Marcus and I sat on the couch, watching Channel 7's continuing coverage of what they were calling the Lincoln District scandal. The resignation count was up to 12 officials, including the entire school board. Mr. Hendricks had been arrested. 3 other districts in the state had announced comprehensive policy reviews. Marcus, I said, are you proud of what you accomplished? He considered the question seriously, the way he always did. I'm proud that I didn't stay quiet. I'm proud that other kids won't have to go through what I did. He looked at me with eyes that seemed decades older than they had a week ago. But mostly, Mom, I'm proud that you trusted me to fight my own battles. For the first time since his father left us, I realized I wasn't afraid of the world hurting my son anymore. Because I'd learned something important, Marcus was never the fragile child I thought needed protecting. He was the protector other kids had been waiting for. And that? That made me prouder than any mother had a right to be.